Hi, everybody. Ian Bremmer here, and a quick take on the latest around coronavirus and global politics. And, you know, the WHO, the World Health Organization, which the U.S. is still a part of as of now. We'll see next week. Could be something different, but for now, we're part of it. Announced that the epicenter of coronavirus is now South America. Interestingly, said South America, not Latin America. So Mexico is where the cases are increasing and not close to peak yet, and also badly mishandling this, not a part of South America. I'm kind of wondering if there was some behind-the-scene politics with the WHO. I haven't spoken with them since they made the announcement, but I'm certainly going to ask that question. It's kind of interesting. But certainly when you look at the cases in Brazil right now, second highest number of cases in the world, a daily death toll that is now more than the United States, a horrible governance in their lack of effective response, very disunited, lost two, not one, two ministers of health resigning in the middle of a pandemic. That's like leaving the World Health Organization in the middle of a pandemic. Who does stuff like this? Well, President Bolsonaro in Brazil does. They're the epicenter. Remember, it was China. That's how this all started. Then it moved to Italy. That was the new epicenter. And then the United States. And now it's Brazil. So we're playing hand the very poisoned baton/chalice. And the Brazilians are getting it. Of course, they don't have anywhere near the economic capacity to effectively respond with relief that the United States do. Though, I will say, so far, their fiscal response in Brazil has been one of the strongest of any developing economy in the world. That's been helpful. And there has been coordination with Congress, despite the fact that the relations are deeply dysfunctional. Kind of like Pelosi-Mnuchin working together on the fiscal response, and Powell, Fed chief, been very effective in the United States, despite the fact that the red-blue divide in the U.S. is worse than any time in our lifetimes at a time of really horrible crisis. Massive infighting. And also now a travel ban from the United States, not on U.S. citizens or permanent residents flying from Brazil, but everybody else. And of course, there wasn't much travel going from Brazil, but it's just one more thing to hit the Brazilian economy, hit the Brazilian currency. Their trajectory looking much, much more challenging right now. Not to mention all of the corruption scandals that are now hitting not just Bolsonaro and his family, but also governors. In Lavo Jato, you remember this, it was all the former governors, the impeachment of the former president. They finally got past it. And now they're back in the midst of corruption scandals again with a good news, strongly independent judiciary. Bad news, yet another massive political and economic distraction when they really can't afford it. Brazil is going to be making some really ugly headlines over the course of the next few months. Here in the United States, the big flap, it was kind of funny this was a big flap, was Biden finally made some news by saying that you weren't really black if you weren't voting for Biden. Now, I watched because it made such a flap. I'm like, okay, I'll go and watch this interview with a well-known journalist, Charlemagne the K or something like that. I'd heard of him before. It was a pretty friendly interview. Biden was obviously joking around. He's not all that funny. He's almost 80. I don't know many almost 80-year-olds that are able to do a lot of really good humor with younger people. Biden fits that camp. And, of course, no one was being charitable in their response that doesn't like Biden. And so they beat up on him like crazy. Now, what do I think about this? Well, number one, Biden's still not making anywhere close to the headlines that Trump is. This election is overwhelmingly about Trump. You either love Trump, smaller number of people, but love him a lot, or you really can't stand him. Much larger number of people. There's not a lot of enthusiasm about Biden, but after 4 years of Trump, there's an awful lot of enthusiasm against Trump, and I think that's going to matter a lot more than how people feel about Biden, including in terms of turnout. I think the turnout issue that's relevant for Biden is more how many Dems are worried about social distancing and being able to go and vote compared to how many Republicans. And so far, that is playing in favor of Trump. But as I said, if you watch the thing, it was pretty obvious that Biden didn't really mean you're not a black person if you don't vote for Trump. Having said that, I don't think there's a lot of concern that Biden's going to lose the black vote to Trump. 93, 94, 95%. I mean, it's going to be higher than what Hillary got. That seems pretty clear. I mean, I remember when Trump was talking to blacks, said, what do you have to lose? Might as well vote for me. Well, 4 years later, I think a lot of black people actually have an answer to that in the United States. And I don't think a lot of them are turning out for Trump. They're voting with their feet. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. I think the more interesting thing is the fact that Biden, within a few hours, apologized for the statement that he was, being glib. He shouldn't have. Of course, Trump never would have apologized for this statement. And in the same way that Biden felt like he had to address Tara Reade, and Trump never would have felt like he needed to address any of the women that had accused him of sexual harassment or assault. And the rules obviously set very differently because Trump is popular because he absolutely refuses to accept responsibility for anything, and his support base loves that. On the Democratic side, I mean, remember, these are the guys that got rid of Senator Al Franken, who was a comic, for pulling off an inappropriate joke, but laying his hands on a woman's torso, upper body, in Iraq, I think it was, when she had a vest on, a metal vest on, and was sleeping. I mean, can you imagine Trump or anyone in the White House resigning for something like that? Inconceivable, and yet the rules are played differently. Again, I think it's interesting. It does show that Biden is not going to stop trying to win on the basis of being more empathetic and more of a human being than Trump is, and that is something that a lot of people that will vote against Trump find appealing about both the Democrats today compared to the Republicans today, as well as anyone but Trump as opposed to Trump today. But it is just interesting to note. And I think that the media also plays by these rules to a significant degree. And so, things are changing in the way we address all of this and talk about it politically in the United States.